You lost, old man. The door's behind you. Owen Parrish didn't stop walking. He moved the way he always moved. Slow, deliberate, like a man who had learned long ago that hurrying changes nothing. He was 67 years old, with a white beard he'd stopped trimming after his wife died, and a second-hand parka that smelled faintly of cedar and machine oil. His left hand gripped a metal cane, not because he needed it badly, but because the February ice in Hamilton, Ontario had put 3 people in the hospital that week, and Owen Parrish had not survived this long by being careless. He stopped at the edge of the mat and looked around. The gym was called Summit Combat Academy. It occupied the second floor of a building on Barton Street, above a check-cashing place and a hair salon. The ceiling was low. The walls were covered in motivational decals that someone had printed too large and applied crooked. Heavy bags hung in 2 rows. A cage occupying the far wall had been painted matte black, and in the corner, a ring light on a tripod blinked red. The man who had spoken to Owen was 29 years old, blonde, taller than he needed to be about it. His name was Chad Ritchie, and the merchandise rack beside the front desk held 11 different products with his face on them. Protein powder, a jump rope, a branded mouthguard, a self-published book with the title No Ceiling that currently held 4.2 stars on Amazon from 83 reviews. 40 of which he had written himself through a service he paid $30 a month for. He had 340,000 followers on YouTube. He called them his Summit Crew. He posted 4 times a week without fail, because his management team had told him consistency was king, and Chad Ritchie believed anything that came from a person who managed him. He looked at Owen the way you look at something that has blown through an open window and landed on your floor. Sir, this is a private training facility. Members only. My granddaughter trains here, Owen said. His voice was the kind of voice that had spent years outdoors. It carried without effort. Brianna Parrish. She's been a member 8 months. Tuesday afternoon class. Chad turned. 2 students near the bag stopped working. One of them pressed his hands into his gloves and watched. Brianna. Chad said the name slowly, like he was searching a very small filing cabinet. Oh, right, Bree. He tilted his head. She quit. Owen's hand went still on the cane. She didn't tell me she quit. She didn't tell you because she didn't quit. I removed her. Program wasn't a good fit. Chad crossed his arms and grinned slightly. Not enough to be openly rude. Just enough to enjoy it. We have a certain standard here. It's in the membership agreement. She's been training for 8 months. She competed in Guelph in October. She placed second in a regional amateur bracket against 14 people. Chad spread his hands. That's not the level we're preparing people for. She wasn't keeping up. I run a gym, not a participation ribbon factory. A student near the cage snorted. Someone else hid a smile. Owen looked at him for a moment. She paid for a full quarter in advance. That's 3 months of fees. You have her money. Management will issue a prorated refund within 30 business days. It's in the agreement. She's 22 years old, and she drove 40 minutes each way 3 times a week for 8 months. She didn't miss 1 session. Dedication doesn't substitute for talent. Chad took 1 step closer, not threatening, just filling the space. The way men do when they want the other person to feel small without technically doing anything wrong. Look, I appreciate you coming down here. That's very sweet. But Grandpa can't fix this one. Some people have the ceiling, some people don't. It's just how it is. He said it loud enough for everyone to hear, because Chad Ritchie understood something basic and true. His students were watching. His ring light was on. And a 67-year-old man with a cane standing on his mat refusing to leave was an opportunity, not a problem. He snapped his fingers at the student closest to the equipment rack. Marcus, get my phone. Tripod's already set up. Marcus hesitated. We rolling? Roll. The red light blinked. Chad repositioned himself so the camera caught both of them. Owen at the edge of the mat, Chad at the center, his gym, his frame, his narrative. All right, let's talk. Chad raised his voice. Perform. Grandpa here wants to know why his granddaughter got cut from the program. So let me be transparent, since that's what this community is about. He pointed at the camera without looking at it. Brianna Parrish signed up in June. She trained for 8 months, and in 8 months, she did not improve at the pace this program requires. She flinched. She telegraphed every combination. She couldn't absorb basic feedback without shutting down emotionally. That's not a gym problem. That's a candidate problem. Owen didn't move. He didn't look at the camera. You told her she flinched. She did. You told her in front of the class. A pause. Feedback is public in combat sports. You told the class she hit like someone's grandmother. Owen's voice had not changed pitch or volume, and then you asked them if they thought she should be in the program. You held a vote. The gym went quiet. Not because Owen had raised his voice, because he had not. Marcus, holding the phone, stopped moving. Chad laughed, short and sharp. I run an interactive coaching environment. It's in the membership agreement. Yes. Owen adjusted his grip on the cane. I want the money back. The full quarter. Not prorated. Not in 30 days. Sir, that's not how this works. I know how this works, Owen said, and something in his voice changed. Not louder. Colder. The way a room goes cold when someone opens a window in January. I've been in rooms like this for 50 years. Chad stared at him, then laughed again, more deliberately this time, turning to the camera. 50 years. Okay. Grandpa, with all due respect, whatever you did 50 years ago doesn't really apply here. This is a professional. Put up $5,000, Owen said. The room went silent. Chad blinked. Excuse me? $5,000. Cash if you have it, transfer if you don't. Same amount Brianna paid you across 8 months. Owen's eyes didn't move from Chad's face. 1 round, anything you want. Kickboxing, wrestling, grappling. Your rules. You hit me clean and keep everything. I hit you clean once and you refund every dollar she paid. The gym exploded in noise. Not alarm. Excitement. Students who had been pretending to stretch stopped pretending. Chad looked at the camera. He looked at his students. He looked at Owen Parrish, 67 years old, second-hand parka, white beard, metal cane. He grinned. You're serious. I don't joke about money, old man. Chad laughed the way a man laughs when he's already composing the caption. You can't be serious. You're going to get hurt. Then it'll be quick. Owen set his cane against the wall, carefully, the way a man sets something down that he values. He rolled his right shoulder, then his left. He rotated his neck once in each direction. You said your program has standards. He stepped onto the mat. Show me your standard. What happened next lasted less than 40 seconds. Chad came in fast. He was not careless. That was the thing that confused everyone later when they rewatched the footage. He came in with a clean right jab followed by a left body kick. The combination he had drilled 10,000 times. The one he opened his YouTube tutorials with. The one that had the most views. Owen moved, not away. He moved left and slightly forward, a diagonal half step that took him inside the kick before it could generate power. His right hand came up and redirected Chad's jab arm outward with a firm circular motion, the kind of motion that doesn't look violent but feels like being caught in a current. Chad's punch found nothing. His momentum pulled him slightly off-center. Owen's left hand caught his shoulder. He didn't strike. He adjusted. A small pivoting motion at the hip, weight shifting forward and down, that loaded Chad's body onto an axis he hadn't chosen. It happened faster than the student's eyes could process. One moment, Chad was mid-combination. The next, he was on the mat, flat on his back, looking at the water-stained ceiling of his own gym, air gone from his lungs, blinking slowly. The room did not make a sound. Not one person. Someone's phone buzzed, and nobody moved to look at it. Chad rolled, started to push himself up, got to one knee. His face was the color of old brick. His eyes were calculating something. Lucky, he said. That was luck. Owen stood where he had been, feet shoulder-width apart, hands loose at his sides, breathing through his nose. Chad came up fast. He changed approach, low takedown, driving forward from the hips. A level change he was actually good at. He had wrestled in his 20s. He knew what he was doing. Owen read it. He sprawled. His hips shot back and down, arms coming across Chad's shoulders, weight collapsing forward at exactly the wrong moment for Chad's leverage. Chad's face hit the mat. Not hard enough to injure, hard enough to understand. As Chad tried to scramble upright, Owen's hand found the back of his collar. A controlled lift and redirect, steering Chad's own recovery against him, that deposited him on his back for the second time in 30 seconds. He stayed there longer this time. A student in the back row said, "Oh my God," to no one in particular. Marcus had not stopped filming. A woman who had been watching from the office doorway walked forward 2 steps and then stopped. Her name was Penny Adaze. She had been Chad's assistant coach for 3 years. She had a background in judo and enough experience to recognize something the students couldn't. She recognized the economy of it. There was no wasted motion, no adjustment, no recovery. Every position Owen had taken, he had already been in. He didn't respond to Chad. He had been ahead of Chad, not by much, a quarter second. But in those exchanges, a quarter second is not a margin. It is the entire outcome. She had seen that kind of efficiency exactly once before, in a video she had watched during a certification course. Footage from a national championship in 1986, a middleweight division. A man who fought so quietly the commentators kept running out of things to say. Her hand went to her mouth. She walked back to the office. She pulled up the footage on her laptop. She read the name under the thumbnail. She said it out loud to nobody. Owen Parrish. She came back to the gym door. She looked at the man standing on the mat. White beard, second-hand parka folded on the bench now. And she said it again, louder. "Chad, stop. You don't know who that is." Chad was on his feet. He was done with technique. His face told you that. When a man switches from competition to fury, his body broadcasts it. His jaw tightens. His shoulders come forward. He comes at you like he's trying to prove something to himself. Owen sidestepped, 1 step to the right. As Chad passed, Owen placed a single palm strike on his shoulder blade. Directional, precise, not punishing. Corrective, almost the way a teacher taps a student's arm to adjust their posture. Chad's momentum carried him 3 steps further than he intended. He put his hands on the cage to stop himself. He stood there for 4 seconds, breathing hard, hands on the cage, back to the room. Then he slid down to 1 knee. He stayed there. Owen stepped back. He rolled his shoulders once. He picked up his cane from against the wall. He stood and waited. He didn't bow. He wasn't performing anything. He just waited to see if it was over. It was over. The gym erupted, not violently, not in anger. In the particular stunned way that people react when they witness something they cannot immediately categorize. Students were talking over each other. One of them near the heavy bags kept saying, "Who is he? Who is he?" Someone pulled up YouTube on their phone. Someone else screamed in a pitch that was not a scream so much as a pressure valve releasing. Marcus had filmed everything. All of it. 8 phones had been out by the second exchange, angles overlapping, the kind of involuntary documentation that happens when people see something they immediately know they will need to see again later. Penny walked into the center of the room. She spoke to no one in particular, but her voice carried. Owen Parrish, 5-time national judo champion, 2-time Pan American gold medalist. He competed from 1978 to 1991. He was ranked 4th in the world in 1988. He ran the Canadian National Training Program for 12 years and trained 6 Olympic athletes. She paused. He retired to take care of his wife when she got sick. She died in 2019. She looked at Chad. Chad said nothing. He's been coaching out of a community center in East Hamilton since 2020. For free. She looked at Owen. "I'm sorry. I should have said something earlier." Owen looked at her. "You didn't know he'd be this stupid," he said. 3 students started laughing, the kind that comes out when it shouldn't and nobody can stop it. Chad Ricci was on his feet. He was very quiet now. The performance was over. The camera was still rolling, but he had stopped working to it. There was something new in his face. Not injury. Not embarrassment. Something worse for a man like Chad Ricci. The sensation of being genuinely small, in his own space, witnessed by his own people. "You can go," he said to Owen. His voice was flat. The money. I said you can go. I'll go when you give me the number. Owen looked at him the same way he had from the beginning, evenly. E-transfer, or I'll wait while you get cash. The gym was completely quiet. Chad went to his phone. He did not speak. He made the transfer. He turned the screen to Owen without handing it over, the amount visible, $5,000. Owen took a picture of the screen with his own phone, a device so old that two students exchanged a look. Then Owen Parrish picked up his parka, nodded once to Penny, and walked out the door. Brianna got a text at 4:22 p.m. It said, "Check your account. I got your money back. I also think you should find a different gym." Grandpa, she called him 4 times. He didn't answer, because he was driving. And Owen Parrish did not believe in talking on the phone while driving, a position he had held since 1994 and intended to hold until he died. She found out the rest of it that evening, the way everyone did. Marcus's footage went up first at 6:08 p.m. He posted it without context, just the raw clip and 3 words, "This happened today." By 9 p.m. it had 200,000 views. By midnight, it had been picked up by 2 sports pages, a martial arts forum, and a Canadian news aggregator that ran it under the headline "Hamilton Senior Dismantles MMA Coach in Gym Confrontation." By morning, the full story had assembled itself from the pieces. Students who had filmed different angles posted their clips. Someone found the national championship footage from 1986 and edited it side by side with Marcus's video. Same footwork, same hip movement, same quiet. 38 years apart, the body remembered everything. The caption on the comparison video read, "Legends don't disappear, they wait." It had 4 million views by the time Brianna showed up at her grandfather's apartment on Wednesday morning, with 2 Tim Hortons coffees and absolutely no idea what to say. She stood in his kitchen while he made toast, and looked at him like she was seeing a version of him that had been in the room all along, and she had simply never known where to look. "Grandpa." "Eat something," he said. "You could have told me." "About what?" About any of it. The championships. The training program. Any of it." Owen set a plate in front of her. He sat down across the table with his own coffee and looked at the window for a moment. "Your grandmother knew," he said. "She came to every competition I ever entered. She drove 4 hours in a snowstorm to watch me lose a semifinal in Sudbury in 1983, and she brought a thermos of soup and she said, 'Owen, you were robbed,' even though I wasn't robbed, I just had a slow day." She always said that, he smiled. Not a large smile, the kind that cost something. After she died, it didn't feel like my story anymore. It felt like ours. And telling it without her felt like telling half of something. Brianna didn't say anything. "I didn't go into that gym for me," he said. "I went because somebody needed to." That afternoon, Chad Ritchie posted a video. He sat in front of a blank wall. No ring light, no product placement, no branded backdrop. His voice was steady, but something behind his eyes was not. He said that the footage circulating online was missing context. He said Owen had challenged him, not the other way around. He said he had concerns about the physical safety of the interaction, and had attempted to de-escalate. He said that an older gentleman with a cane entering a professional training facility and initiating a physical confrontation raised serious questions about liability and coaching ethics, and that his legal team was reviewing the situation. He did not mention Brianna. He did not mention the refund. He did not mention the money he had received for 8 months of fees. The video got 2,000 views and 1,100 comments before he turned comments off. His regular Tuesday post, a technique breakdown he had spent 6 hours filming and editing, got 14,000 views. His average was 180,000. He left it up for 2 days, then made it private. The supplement company that had sponsored him for 14 months sent an email. Short, professional. 2 sentences that said nothing and said everything. His management team asked for a call. He did not return it. By Friday, Penny Adaze had quietly submitted her resignation. She had already spoken to the director of the Hamilton Judo Club about mat time. She had a proposal. She had 12 students who had reached out individually that week, all of them current or former summit members, all of them asking the same question. Is Owen Parrish going to teach somewhere? He was. The Eastdale Community Center on the mountain had a multi-purpose room that went unused on Saturday mornings. Penny had already asked about it. The director, a man named Earl, who wore a Tickats lanyard, and had the energy of someone who had been waiting for an interesting problem, said yes before she finished the sentence. Owen had two conditions. The classes were free, and nobody brought a camera. The first Saturday, 12 people showed up, ages ranging from 19 to 71. A retired bus driver named Franklin, who told Owen he'd been afraid of his commute home for 3 years, since someone shoved him on a night route. A university student who said she'd been followed twice this semester, and didn't know what to do with her hands. A couple in their 50s who had watched the video together, and driven 90 minutes from Brantford without calling ahead. And Brianna, in the front row, 15 minutes early. Owen walked in carrying the same mat bag he had used since 1981. He set it down. He looked at the room. He did not give a speech. He did not talk about what had happened that Tuesday. He did not tell them his history or his titles or his ranking. He had not posted anything online. He had not given any interviews. He had said, when someone from a sports media outlet had contacted him through the community center, "I appreciate the interest. I'm not the story. The class is the story." He stood in front of 12 people and said 3 things. Left foot back. Weight low. Breathe. And they began. 3 months later, the Eastdale class had 41 regular students. The city had reached out about expanding the program to 2 additional community centers. A legal firm downtown had started funding the mat fees. Not because Owen asked. Because one of the partners had a daughter who trained in the Saturday class, and she had come home one evening and told her father she felt different walking to her car. Different how? He'd asked. She thought about it. Like I know where my feet are, she said. Chad Ritchie's channel was still active. He posted irregularly now. The comments on his videos had shifted. Still supporters, but fewer, and louder at the edges. The lawsuit he had floated never materialized. His legal team had apparently reviewed the footage, all of it, and arrived at conclusions they did not share with him directly, but which became clear from the advice they provided. He did not contact Owen. Owen did not contact him. The day the city signed the expansion agreement, Brianna drove her grandfather to the community center and sat with him in the parking lot for a minute before they went in. The sky was doing that specific April thing where the light comes in sideways and makes even parking lots look like somewhere worth being. Are you going to write about any of this? She asked. Or talk about it. There are still people trying to interview you. Owen looked out the windshield. What would I say? I don't know. What you've been telling the class, I guess. He thought about it. I'd say that the things you build inside yourself don't leave, he said. They just wait. And the people who try to make you feel like you're nothing are usually the ones who need you to be nothing. Because if you're something, their story falls apart. He picked up his mat bag, and I'd say Brianna Parrish placed second at the Guelph Regional in October, against 14 people, and she should find a gym that knows what that's worth. She was still smiling when they walked through the door. Inside, 38 people were already on the mat. Franklin was helping a new student adjust her stance. The university student was running warm-up laps with a woman she had brought herself. A friend, she said, who had been nervous to come, who had sat in the car for 10 minutes before deciding to walk in. Owen set his mat bag down. He took off his parka. He stood at the front of the room, white beard, 67 years old, and looked at what had grown out of one Tuesday afternoon when someone thought he was nothing, and he was simply quietly something else entirely. All right, he said. Left foot back. Let's begin. There are people the world files away, quietly, without ceremony. Not out of cruelty, just because the world is lazy about packaging, and if someone doesn't look like what strength is supposed to look like, the world simply doesn't check. It sets them down and moves on, and they stay there, in community centers, in back pews, in the passenger seat of a granddaughter's car, carrying decades of something nobody thought to ask about. I think about Owen every time someone tells me that a person can't do something based on how they look. Every time a young person mistakes volume for authority. Every time someone with a platform confuses followers with respect. Strength doesn't perform. It doesn't need the ring light. It doesn't need the branded mouthguard or the 4.2 stars. It shows up when the moment arrives exactly as it always was. Left foot back, weight low. Breathe. If someone in your life has been written off, underestimated, counted out by people who didn't bother to look twice, drop their name in the comments. Tell me who they are. Tell me what they carried that nobody saw. I'll read everyone. And if this story stayed with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. This channel exists for the people the world overlooks. Subscribe so you're here for the next one. Because there are more of them. There are always more of them. And their stories deserve to be told.